And now to talk about the AI for Decarbonisation Virtual Centre for Excellence, an acronym I always have to try and remember. Please welcome to the stage from the Energy Systems Catapult, Stephen Haben.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. So yeah, we're from the Energy Systems Catapult, so we're very interested in sort of supporting innovators across the sector, like all the catapults. I'm going to talk very quickly about sort of the challenges we've sort of tried to root out in decarbonisation problems. This is part of a problem called the project called ADVICE, which is the AI for Decarbonisation's Virtual Centre for Excellence. And this is a DESNZ project which is joint with Alan Turing Institute and the Digital Catapult. And we're focusing particularly on sort of four main areas, which is energy, built environment, agriculture, and manufacturing. We're there to sort of help collaboration about there and coordinate across the sectors to sort of help solve some of these challenges. And we recently released a couple of reports, one on AI challenges, which are what I'll talk about today, and another on the UK landscape, which Digital Catapult wrote. So when I show you the website later, please go on there and check that out. Just to talk about the type of challenges that we're interested in looking at. Obviously, we're interested in the intersection between decarbonisation and AI, but we were very particularly interested in sort of looking at challenges which perhaps hadn't been looked at in a lot more detail, and maybe less obvious ones as well, because we obviously were interested in them as well, but we wanted to sort of look at things which maybe had a bit more systemic blockers to decarbonisation. And so we took a kind of whole systems approach. I'll demonstrate that with an example later. Very quickly, as part of this investigation we decided on sort of 7 grand challenges. I won't go into the details of these, but essentially we sort of, for each sort of those 4 sectors, we determined some of the greatest challenges these areas had in terms of the amount of decarbonisation impact they needed to provide, and where AI could have some real impact. One is about domestic decarbonisation. The other are about the infrastructure themselves and the assets and how we can better build those to help decarbonisation. The third one is about flexibility and how you manage those assets. The fourth and fifth are about manufacturing, both about the efficiency, improving the efficiency of those processes, and also decarbonising those inputs, whether it's the energy they use or the feedstock. And then 6 and 7 were about agriculture, so about soil management in one case, and the other about sort of methane in agriculture. And that's also about sort of looking for alternatives to meat. But behind all of these, we had sort of individual well-defined tasks we'd started to try and collect together. So what we've done is we've developed sort of around 70 as a starter for 10 of sort of particular challenges in these 4 sectors, so please check them out. We've also got some physical cards as well. We found they're quite useful for sort of discussions around these areas and sort of helping to organize our thoughts around some of these discussions. So please check those out. We're hoping this continues building over time with more and more challenges. So we wanted to just demonstrate a bit about how we looked at some of those systemic blockers, about sort of how we take a whole systems approach, and sort of contrast sort of where we typically apply kind of obvious solutions to AI. In some ways, a lot of the focus at the moment is on control and automation and smart homes and those sorts of things, but we wanted to look a bit more in some of the systemic blockers here. So if we try and look at one of the major drives for decarbonisation, which is to sort of move to sort of electric heating and heat pumps in particular, we find that there's a lot of sort of negative perceptions there on the uptake, whether that's individuals in the home who are not sure whether they'll be as reliable or trustworthy as the current boiler systems they have in. And it's also the installers themselves. So they are not sure it'll be taking off as a technology, and if they're not convinced, then they won't be encouraging customers they work with to uptake them. But we also find, obviously, there's a bit more design challenges for adopting heat pumps. They require a bit more of investigation into the home. You have to do sort of longer-term studies to understand how to size the heat pumps in the right way, and to make sure that sort of you are getting the right heat pump for your and other retrofits you might need. But obviously, this feeds into something which is a lot more complex and time-consuming, and that feeds into sort of negative perceptions as well about those technologies. And obviously, driving some of these things is a skills gap as well. So there's design challenges, so there's more complexity there. You need more skills to do that. It needs more training. And obviously, if people have a negative perception of these technologies, they'll also drive less skills in the area. And of course, these can feed back. So As you can see from here, there's sort of negative feedback loops you can see that build into these systems. And then on top of that, obviously, with the skills gap a bit lower, you may have variable installation qualities, and they feed into negative perceptions as well. And there's a whole host of other issues here we've not put on. Another one is cost. But as you can see, like what we currently are looking at with AI won't necessarily help solve any of these problems. So maybe one thing we would like to encourage is involvement in looking at how we could solve those other areas with AI. Maybe we can help design things for reducing the skills gap. Maybe we can look at different ways to design these systems, or at least help design them and implement them quicker, and things like that. So that's all I kind of wanted to say on that, but I do want to also encourage people to try and get involved, especially if you're working in those areas of manufacturing, agriculture, energy, and built environment. We have sharing circles, which will be, practitioners will hopefully be talking to each other, sharing tools, sharing data and knowledge. We've got some industrial working groups we hope people can engage in, which will have people with problems and people with solutions getting together, and they'll be discussing with each other of how to approach some of these problems, including the sort of systemic ones we mentioned there. And hopefully shortly we'll be releasing a knowledge hub where we'll be sharing lots of information, and also sort of webinars which will be talking in more depth about some of those grand challenges. So please come to the website, have a look at all the documents we're producing on there, and if you want to talk to us further, then get in touch. So thank you very much.